Coming up on Tech News today, Apple hires one of their most vicious critics. Also, Yahoo Shopping's for video service Dailymotion. They're going to buy it. And Amazon rumored to be in competition with everybody and make cheap Kindles. I'll have more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, March 20th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Pond5, the world's stock media marketplace. If you're a media maker looking for video, photos, illustrations, music, sound effects, After Effects templates, or 3D models, check out Pond5. And for an exclusive 50 free stock media files, go to pond5.com/TNT. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, and now an online store. Check out their new commerce solution so you can start selling stuff immediately. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT3. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Maya Zakhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show we keep you up to date with the most important stories in the tech world, starting each time with the top 10 stories of the day in the news. Sometime iOS critic and Adobe CTO Kevin Lynch will leave the company and no longer be CTO as of March 22nd to take a position at Apple. Lynch will take the job of Vice President of Technology at Apple, reporting to Senior Vice President of Technology Bob Mansfield. Adobe will not fill the position of CTO after Lynch leaves.
They don't need tech anymore at Adobe.
Yeah, why not?
The BBC was reporting that a virus is to blame for disruption in computer networks at 2 South Korean banks, Shinhan Bank and Nongyup, and 3 TV stations, KBS, MBS, and YTN. An official says it's believed to be malicious code and that investigators are still analyzing the virus. An official from the presidential office told the Yonhap news agency it wasn't known yet whether or not North Korea was involved, but last week North Korea accused the U.S. and its allies of attacks on its internet servers.
Do you love graphics cards and have a spare $25,000 lying around? Good, yes. Because NVIDIA just released its Grid visual computing appliance. It's meant for animators and designers, and it costs $24,900, excuse me. Oh, and there's also a yearly $2,400 software license fee. The device contains 192 gigabytes of RAM, 16 threads of CPU, and 8 GPUs. There's also a 16 GPU model, but you'll have to contact NVIDIA to find out what that costs. Remember, if you got to ask, you can't afford it.
Oh, never mind. Federal IT blog FCW reports that Amazon has agreed to a cloud computing contract with the CIA worth $600 million over 10 years. The report indicates Amazon Web Services would be asked to build a cost-effective private cloud computing environment that would allow secure integration and information sharing throughout the intelligence community. As you might expect, neither the CIA or Amazon would comment. They don't have any content either.
Uh-oh, BlackBerry's new BB10 software has been rejected by the British government as not secure enough for essential work. Now, the previous BlackBerry version, 7.1, was cleared by the UK's Communications Electronic Security Group back in December for classifications up to restricted. That's 2 levels below secret. However, tests on BB10 and BlackBerry Balance have shown it fails the same security requirements. Now, BlackBerry has confirmed BB10 is not passed yet, but couldn't offer a date when revised software would be submitted.
You know, you need more fiber in your diet, and you're going to get it, especially if you're in Kansas. Google will expand Google Fiber in Kansas City. The suburb of Olathe is the next lucky place to get access to Google's ludicrously fast network. Google launched its 1 gigabit per second network 9 months ago. The company says it's ready to launch service in other locations. Hey, Google, how about Petaluma, my house?
It's not going to happen. However, what is going to happen is you can sell things that you buy overseas. The U.S. Supreme Court has upheld Thai student Supap Kurtsang's right to buy cheap textbooks in Thailand and resell them in the U.S. The right of first sale is well-founded in domestic use, but publisher John Wiley & Sons argued that the rules should be different for international goods. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to overturn federal appeals court decisions in favor of Kurtzang. So Kurtzang has now got the Supreme Court on his side, and the right of first sale will now apply to international goods. And so your right to resell that phone or tablet that was made in China will survive at least another day.
Giphy, a new startup from incubator BetaWorks, is letting users search a database of around thousands of GIFs. GIFs are big on the internet meme world right now, right? You'd like to search for GIFs. Google says, yeah, we want you to do that through Google. Yesterday, the company announced that it was adding a drop-down option to its search tools menu on all image searches so that we can filter results so that only animated GIFs appear. So we got a big search giant versus a little startup project. And I say, as long as I can watch Jennifer Lawrence falling on the Oscar stairs on loop, everybody wins.
Everybody always wins in that case. Jawbone has released an Android app for its Jawbone Up device, the fitness bracelet that tracks movement, sleep, food, and mood when you pair it up with an app. In addition, Apple stores in Europe will begin carrying the Up, and Apple stores in Asia and Australia will join them next month, along with other non-Apple retail locations in Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Middle East.
Bad news, everybody. Trend Micro says that SCADA systems are attracting all kinds of hackers. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, and they run industrial places like factories, airports, and power plants. Now, Trend Micro tested this by setting up a honeypot with traditional vulnerabilities, but steps were taken to make the honeypots easily discovered. The company says that within 18 hours, its honeypots were attacked. Trend Micro logged data for 28 days, found 39 attacks from 14 different countries.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Pond5, the world's stock media marketplace. I know folks in the audience, you make your own videos, you make podcasts, you make all kinds of stuff. And it's risky out there if you just take images. You see, if you just make it for yourself, maybe you won't get caught. But if you're making it for consumption, you want to be careful. You want to get stuff that's legal, and you want to get stuff that's good. That's why you go to Pond5. They have professional quality photos, vector illustrations, music tracks, sound effects, customizable motion graphics templates, 3D models, lots more. The collection's growing by leaps and bounds every day, and all of the content on Pond5 can be downloaded instantly for legal use in virtually any media production at the best prices anywhere. The stuff is not crazy expensive. So if you're a developer, you can use it for high-quality sound effects for games. Designers can use it to not have to build everything from scratch. And film and video makers can use Pond5's HD footage for just the right shot. You want a helicopter shot, you want a close-up, you want something. I was over at KTLA yesterday. They were talking about always needing different shots of people typing because they keep seeing the same one over and over again. I was like, you guys should check out Pond5. They got tons of that kind of stuff. Just the right thing you need. And if you're an artist, you can sell your stuff on Pond5 too. They give you control over the pricing and give you 50% royalties for each and every sale. So if you're a media maker or an artist, you should absolutely check out Pond5. Take your creativity to the next level or upload your own content and put it to work at the world's most artist-friendly marketplace for stock media. This month, you can get 50 free stock media files. If you've been hearing this talk about this and you're like, I don't know what I would do with that, just go find out. Go to pond5.com/TNT, download the 50 free stock media files. It might spur your creativity right there. We thank Pond5 for their support of Tech News Today. Joining us now to discuss the news of the day, Associate Editor at Engadget, Nicole Lee. How's it going, Nicole?
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome back to the show. It's always great to have you.
Great to be here. Great to be back.
Well, let's start off with talking about this whole Kevin Lynch story that's taken at least a lot of the Apple blogs by storm. Lynch, if you don't know, led the fight to defend Adobe's Flash. Remember when Steve Jobs posted that letter up that said a few thoughts on Flash and basically declared it dead, said we're not going to support it on iOS devices and they haven't been supporting us and forget about it. Lynch comes from Macromedia. That's where Flash comes from. And according to some insiders, had ambitions of being CEO of Adobe. Now, he now works for Bob Mansfield. Mansfield resigned from Apple at one point, but Tim Cook kind of reorged things, got rid of Scott Forstall, and Mansfield now has a new job. Adobe said they're not going to hire a new CTO, but they're going to let business unit heads handle their own technology needs, and they'll have a kind of a research and development head. So this is what we've got going on. The guy who hated Apple's iOS, or at least defended Flash against it, and wanted to be CEO of Adobe, has left Adobe to work for the company who created the thing he hated, to not be CEO and work for a guy who once quit, and Adobe's not going to replace him. Does this make any sense to you, Nicole Lee? I mean, it's got people like John Gruber out there got their heads spinning.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, of course, it seems like why would you work for a company that that you fought so hard against? At the same time, though, I think maybe Apple is looking at what he said and saying that this guy obviously knows us. Otherwise, I mean, your critic is generally the person that knows you the most, right? So I think maybe it's a mistake, but at the same time, I'm thinking it could be a really smart move to hire your worst critic, your harshest critic, so that he's maybe a little bit you'll pay more attention to problems that you may not have seen before.
I mean, we've seen lots of stories of companies hiring hackers who have messed up their systems. The idea that Apple would go out and get somebody from Adobe. I mean, Apple and Adobe used to have a really good relationship way back when the Mac first started. And the thing is, I mean, if Kevin Lynch is effective at his job, that's really what's important here. And Apple picking him up is probably going to be very helpful for them, because at this point, they need to figure out what they're doing. And if they get some more management up top, they could probably go some interesting places, especially with a critic like this.
Well, and it's not as if Apple is any stranger to people holding grudges who hold really high positions within the company, right? I mean, if Lynch has, sort of a bone to pick with Adobe and, really wants to stick it to whoever didn't give him a CEO position, that counts for a lot. I mean, like you said, Ayaz, if he's a smart guy and good at his job, just because 3 years ago he had a different view of, the way that Apple should be taking their products forward. 3 years is a really long time, especially when we're talking about, things like mobile and I mean, I don't think Apple is hiring people because they think that it's going to slow down progression. There's obviously some good reasons for this, but it's confusing people, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people take it too seriously that Scott Lynch, he did that Mythbusters thing about Flash. He was doing his job, right? He's the guy in charge of the technology at Adobe, and so he's going to defend Adobe and offend Apple. Now he's going to go out and I don't know. Father Robert, host of Twyat, is in the chat room just writing $signs. Maybe that's what gets gets him to go over to Apple. But Apple's looking at it. In fact, Daniel Aaron Dilger at Apple Insider points out Lynch developed user interface elements for FrameMaker. He's worked on Mac software a lot throughout his life. He's designed other software. He used to be at General Magic, which was spun out of Apple. So maybe they're looking at saying, "Hey, Mansfield's a great hardware guy. Lynch is a great software guy. Let's create an all-star team. Throw some money at him."
I mean, he is going to be a VP of technology. I mean, his job is going to be coordinating the company's hardware and software teams. And it sounds like that's what he's been doing, just he hasn't had the opportunity for growth at Adobe. And why not go to, Apple, who obviously needs that software, hardware coordination?
I guess another possibility is Mansfield really does want to retire. They talked him out of it, and now he's like, okay, let me pick somebody to train to be my apprentice, to be my replacement. Could be viewed that way. Let's move on to Yahoo going shopping. Remember, we've been speculating for a while that Yahoo needs to pick up some good acquisitions. They made one today called Jibe, which is a kind of a user preference app, but it looks like they're after some bigger fish as well.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Yahoo is looking at buying a controlling stake in Dailymotion. That's an online video site. They're citing people familiar with the talks. Yahoo could buy as much as 75% of Dailymotion as a part of an ownership structure that is under consideration. The site's valued at around $300 million, according to Wall Street Journal sources, and this would obviously give Yahoo a giant video arm. Dailymotion is the 12th largest video website in the world by unique users, with 116 million uniques in January, according to ComScore. Now, last year, Dailymotion said it had signed a syndication deal with Yahoo to make its videos available on Yahoo sites. Nicole, do you think that it makes sense for Yahoo to pick up a video site like Dailymotion, or any video site for that matter?
Why wouldn't they? It sounds like a smart move. Isn't online? I mean, you guys are on online video. Online video seems to be the way going forward. It seems to be a way to get lots of content. It's definitely. I mean, I would argue that one of Google's biggest assets is YouTube, and if they want to go up against Google, that seems to be a smart move to me.
Tom, what do you think about the idea of Yahoo owning Dailymotion as opposed to just having the syndication deals? Do they need their own video arm, or can they just get by with syndication deals?
Yeah, remember, Dailymotion doesn't necessarily create content. Dailymotion is like YouTube; they're a host site. That's how they've built their reputation. And for a while, they were number 2 to YouTube. And I know they've slipped, like you said, down to 12th largest video website in the world. But that's still big. That's 116 million in January, right? So this is a company that Yahoo could possibly get at a bargain. Has the technology to become a video sharing site, and then like Yahoo has Flickr. And Flickr images show up in Yahoo search very well because of that. They could have a video site to add to that portfolio. It makes perfect sense to me.
Sarah, Tom brings up Flickr, but I think Flickr does have a very limited video portion to its service. Do you think that Yahoo would be making the right step by acquiring another company, effectively a YouTube competitor, making it much more like Google?
Well, I mean, Flickr has, last I checked, videos you can upload to your Flickr account, but it's capped out at 90 seconds. And again, that's
it's 90 seconds. It's not that long at all.
Yeah. So, and that's, that's user submitted. Dailymotion is a lot more like, do I want to see a funny bulldog on a skateboard? That kind of thing. It's like, I don't go to Dailymotion all that often, but, I think of it sort of along the lines of stuff I might find at BuzzFeed or, it's kind of memey. And I think that for Yahoo, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people spend a lot of time on, that it's very shareable, that goes very viral. I think it does make sense for Yahoo to have something like this under the Yahoo umbrella, not just a partnership.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this deal, and I think it makes a lot of sense for Yahoo to pick up a site like Dailymotion. It's not the biggest service out there, so it probably won't cost that much money. It would be a high-profile move by Marissa Mayer. On top of that, a video service will make it a competitor to YouTube, because right now, I mean, there's a lot of backlash with YouTube when it comes to the way it takes down videos, and Dailymotion, from what I've seen, is a little bit more lenient when it comes to some of these works. So if they could become an actual if they could become a competitor to YouTube, I mean, I'm all for competition when it comes to video sites, and I really hope that Yahoo does something good with this. But I think that name's got to change too. Dailymotion.
Isn't it awful?
I think it's awful. I agree with that. It should be like,
it's as bad as names like ESPN and Google.
And just Flickr.
Flickr.
No E.
Well, it's about time somebody patented the ability to send short, limited messages over the internet and share them widely. Who's done it, Sarah?
Why, it's Twitter, Tom. This is actually a patent that Twitter filed for back in 2007. So it's been a waiting period. But yesterday, Twitter was granted a patent on the Twitter messaging service itself. Founders Jack Dorsey and Biz Stone are listed as the two inventors. Biz Stone enthusiastically tweeted, "Yeah, I'm an inventor. It's a lifelong dream," on Twitter yesterday. This is a broad patent. It describes a messaging service in which users follow each other, and sent messages don't have specific recipients, but they're sent and displayed to people who are following the original sender by the system itself. So it's a broad way to describe Twitter. Of course, it's broadcasting an update message, and that's what the patent explicitly makes reference to. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is you might go, well, okay, what about something like Facebook, right? I mean, on my Facebook profile, I have the opportunity to let people subscribe to my updates, even if there's not a two-way friendship. That works a lot like Twitter. Is a company like Facebook in trouble? Twitter has publicly promised more than once, not only to use patents defensively, but they also introduced what's called the Innovators Patent Agreement last year that codifies the promise, requires permission from its employees before suing offensively. And Twitter has been really vocal about the fact that they're not out to, bring other companies down. And this is obviously a patent that's been in the works for a long time. However, Twitter's not sort of like the little startup that's all about the people. And, Twitter's in the business of making money. They want to make as much money as possible. They want to grow their viewership. They don't always have the coziest relationships with, to use another Facebook property, let's say Instagram. Nicole, do you think that this is just sort of like, hey, we got a patent, that's all good? Or are we going to see some competition here?
I definitely applaud them for having this agreement saying that they're only going to use it defensively. At the same time, it's hard for me to not think that they wouldn't use it competitively against Facebook, against app.net and all of those sort of quote unquote Twitter clones, maybe Yammer that Microsoft acquired. I mean, these are all very similar services, and it's difficult for me to think that, you know, it's basically it's in Twitter's interest to have this patent, and I just cannot see them just sort of sitting on your hands saying, oh yeah, we'll just let them do whatever they want with our patent. Sure, you know.
But let's take it at face value.
Yeah.
Let's assume, just for argument's sake,
Sure,
that Twitter actually does want to only use patents defensively. They would act exactly the same way. They would need to patent this themselves, because otherwise someone else would patent it and come after them.
that's true. So for that, I definitely give them credit for that. But it definitely gives, you know, a little bit of a chilling effect for me. But
Well, I'm thinking about when Twitter, I think it was April of last year, they introduced their innovators patent agreement, where they said they would just use patents defensively because they didn't want to have a culture of attacking everybody. I think that when it comes to Facebook, there are a lot of, not Facebook, when it comes to Twitter, there's a lot of clones out there. I don't think it's in Twitter's interest at all to destroy these other services by litigations, because that's just going to hurt their perception. You don't really want that necessarily going on with Twitter, because if people are mad at Twitter, they're going to say that on Twitter. So it's going to show up in trend.
Well, we've all seen how that worked with Apple. You know, once Apple started suing people, nobody bought Apple products anymore.
Well, the thing is, Apple social networks are so great. So people didn't revolt on Ping, but I'm saying on Twitter's where you'll see people very angry at something like this. The other thing is, Twitter, I think they have the patent to pull down to refresh on iOS. They don't bother to do that. And like Tom was mentioning, they took it because they don't want to get sued. You can hold a patent without suing people. This happens.
Without suing people.
I know this is crazy, but sometimes people just take these
that
things.
sounds crazy, Ayaz.
I know. It's the law school training. You don't necessarily need to sue anybody if you have the right to something. I know it's crazy.
Right. Understood.
Tell the United States of America's citizens that.
I mean, I see.
Yeah,
maybe at the very least, this is like, maybe this is not a Twitter versus Facebook story, but yeah, some app.net, some smaller networks that might be working the same way that Twitter works could just, you know, if Twitter's got this patent that they're saying, hey, we're not going to use it against you, but maybe there's some, you know, some private talks about, you know, we'd really like it if you could partner with us in a way that works better for Twitter, because we've got some leverage here, that kind of thing.
You got a nice microblog here. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it. All right, let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor, Squarespace. If you want to create an online gallery, if you want to create a blog that going to get a lot of traffic and can be reliably served and look beautiful with an award-winning design that you didn't have to figure out, you need Squarespace. And if you're like, well, Tom, that's all fine. That's all great. It sounds pretty. It sounds wonderful for the bloggers, but I'm a businessman, Tom Merritt. I sell things for a living. Well, they've got you covered there now, too, with powerful and flexible e-commerce solutions. The new Squarespace Commerce is integrated to work with every Squarespace template, allowing sales for both physical and digital goods. You can sell CDs or MP3s. You can sell both. You can sell ebooks and hardcover books, paperback books, whatever you want. It's fast to set up. It's a single interface for order management. You can track orders, provide customer email updates, print shipping labels, and add coupons. Squarespace Commerce is included with a business plan subscription that's $24 a month when you sign up for a year, or $30 for a monthly plan. Squarespace gives you and your website the best mobile experience still, too. They adapt on the fly to phones and tablets and desktops and laptops, and it's fast and easy to use, exceptionally well-designed. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform integrating all your website needs: domains, design, development, commerce, hosting, and 24/7 customer support. But you don't have to listen to any of those convincing words I just said. Go to squarespace.com, sign up for a free account, no credit card needed. Just try it out, start building your website. Then, if you decide to purchase it, use offer code TNT3 and get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. That includes monthly and annual plans. And don't forget, with an annual plan, they'll give you a free domain name that is then yours. You own it. At squarespace.com, use that offer code TNT3, everything you need to create an exceptional website. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. All right, Sarah Lane, are you sitting comfortably?
Yes, Tom, I am.
It's time for Amazon-Apalooza.
Yeah, I know. We talked about Amazon and the CIA and the news fuse, but Amazon is just like all over the stories today. TechCrunch says they hear that Amazon is readying a $99 Kindle Fire 7-inch tablet that is in production and will be shipping this year. Now, Amazon has said no, we're not working on that, but it's sort of a carefully worded denial. They mentioned things like current hardware and that sort of thing. Now, apparently, it'll have a TI processor like the rest of the lineup. And, you know, it would have the same resolution as the Kindle Fire HD 7-inch does now. But TI, and we've talked about this in the past, Texas Instruments, is rumored to be getting out of the chip-making business. So you think, well, you know, if Amazon can drop the price on a 7-inch Kindle Fire, you know, maybe are they buying up the rest of that stock for cheap? You know, what's going on? Jeff Bezos has said in the past, you know, we're not really looking to make a profit on our hardware. It's all about getting that stuff out the door and then reaping the rewards from the services that Amazon provides. And you're just using our hardware. So Amazon has dropped prices on the Kindle Fire HD 8.9 devices. The Wi-Fi only version is $269, down from $299. LTE version dropped a whole $100 from $499 to $399. Nicole, do you see a $99 Kindle Fire 7-inch? Supposedly, the 7-inch tablet is the better selling of the two Fire sizes.
I think Amazon could do it. They definitely have the money to offer up a affordable 7-inch tablet. And as you said, you know, 7-inch, that seems to be the sweet spot. That seems to be this nice sweet spot size for people who want, you know, sort of a tablet, but not, you know, just still portable enough to carry around with you. And yeah, I can totally see Amazon. They have the clout. They have the money to do so. Why not?
Well, and it behooves them to sell as many of these devices as possible. You know, I mentioned that they were Amazon was all over the news today. The Verge is reporting Amazon is looking to build a Spotify competitor because that's what everybody wants to do these days. You know, which is obviously a streaming music service. Spotify is just sort of the biggest of the streaming music services that currently exist. The thing is, Amazon already has Cloud Player. They've got cloud storage. If they had some sort of a subscription model that, you know, maybe you could bundle in a deal for. So, you know, if a subscription model, the going rate is about $10 a month for something that's not ad supported. Maybe you get a deal for a year or 6 months with a cheaper Kindle type of a thing. And also, this is actually not a rumor at all. This is true. Amazon is now allowing publishers to add a little send to Kindle button to websites and WordPress blogs and that sort of thing. Washington Post, Time Magazine, Boing Boing are already using it, but anybody could. And what that does is allows, you know, if Tom's reading some articles and he'd like to read it on his Kindle at a later time, it's kind of like an Instapaper or a Pocket, where you're not just thinking about using the Kindle as, oh, it's an ebook reader, it's an article reader, it's an everything reader for later. I don't know. All of this sort of makes me feel like, although, again, Amazon's denying it, that dropping the price and getting those Kindles out the door makes sense because they have so much opportunity to sell what they're good at, you know, on the software side. Tom, what do you think? You agree with me?
I do. I think it's almost surprising that they haven't come out with this sort of thing already. Amazon has been very good about maneuvering themselves into these content businesses and doing it in a way that's not because they want to make money at these content businesses, but because it expands the reach of Amazon. And when they do Amazon Prime Instant, they didn't just do a Netflix competitor. They tied it in with shipping, which seemed really weird at first, but you realize, oh, well, it makes you want to shop on Amazon more. And so, you know, with their music, they're making it so that people come to the Amazon site, and if you make them a subscription music service, then they're likely to continue to just use Amazon instead of saying, well, I would shop on Amazon for some music every once in a while, but I use Spotify or I use Rdio. So making a subscription service then ties you farther into that. It just makes perfect sense to me too.
And I also think, as far as name recognition goes, Spotify, I guess, is pretty popular, but I just feel the name Amazon is just so much more cachet, so much more mainstream recognition than something like a Spotify or an Rdio. I think they have an opportunity here to like really make a killing, like a really serious play in the music market. You can buy your 99-cent songs, of course, but you can also get this subscription service, perhaps this cloud service. I think it's going to be a huge play. Absolutely.
All right, Microsoft is running around with hundos in its hand, going developers, developers, developers.
Yeah, and they're handing the hundreds to the developers. That's pretty much it. That's called it's the Keep the Cash promotion that Microsoft is running. Tom's not making this up. This is actually happening. Microsoft is running a promotion to pump up the Windows Store catalog. They're offering developers $100 per app for newly published applications submitted to the Windows Phone Store or the Windows Store by June 30th. Now, developers can net up to $2,000 in total by submitting up to 10 apps to each store. Payment is $100 as a virtual Visa card. Now, in a statement to All Things D, a Microsoft representative said that paying developers is not its primary strategy, noting that the promotion is limited. It's a limited time thing, ending at June. Nicole, do you think paying developers up front is that gonna work better for Windows Phone, or is that gonna work better for Windows the store?
Probably both. I would imagine you have to have good apps in the store in order for the ecosystem to thrive. You have to seed them, I suppose, with paying the developers this. But Microsoft has said this is not their long-term goal. They hope not to continue paying devs forever, and hopefully that's the case. I think it's a good start. I mean, they have to start somewhere. It just makes me feel as if, it makes me sort of cross my fingers, hoping that hopefully the apps are good, the apps are solid, that they would seed the store properly so that more developers would come on board on their own. It's a good start. We'll see where it goes from here.
Tom,
it just seems dangerous, though, to give developers advances and then say, like, yeah, you could make up to $2,000 if you submit 10 apps. I mean,
for the audio listeners, that was an eye roll by Sarah Lane. I think it came through.
That was a big eye roll. It just, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, yeah, I want to write a book. Will you give me some cash before I write it, and then I'll just write something crappy and take my money?
No,
obviously
but
not all developers are going to do that, but it seems like sort of a dangerous incentive as far as quality is concerned.
Writers get cash advances all the time, though. I mean, I was actually agreeing with you till you said that, and then it kind of started to make sense.
I mean, these apps have to get approved. It's not like it's just like, oh, I have an idea for an application, pay me $100. I mean, I think it's an interesting ploy by Microsoft to be paying developers. It seems very unusual considering Microsoft's usually the big dog. They don't need to attract developers this way. Tom,
well,
Android,
to get an app submitted and approved, it doesn't have to be good. It just basically has to not violate terms of service or something. I mean, there are a lot of crappy apps out there, but they're the developers over on Apple's App Store aren't getting a couple grand. They're just hoping that they don't get shut down.
Well, Sarah, isn't that the point, though? Like, this big number. People always are curious about how many apps do you have. They don't seem to care about the quality anymore. It's like, I have 800,000 apps. Only 3 are good. I mean, is that number going to make a difference to people? Or is it just, I mean, Microsoft does have some quality apps, but why? I mean, does the number matter?
I don't know. I think it does. Microsoft is trying to build, a viable app store that people go to for quality apps. They have a hard time with really popular apps on in other app stores that where the developers just kind of go like, yeah, that's in the works maybe, or no, that's not in the works at all. That makes more sense to me than. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of talented developers who are going to take advantage of this. They're going to make some money, and I think that's great. I just wonder how much quality we're actually going to see from something like this.
I'm not even concerned so much with the quality. Will they stick? Because what Microsoft's gambling here is not that they'll get high quality apps in this round, but that they'll get developers who would not have developed for Microsoft, who would have not learned the framework. They wouldn't have bothered working in it to come over and try it for the $100, and then hopefully after that continue to develop for Windows. And I don't know if there's going to be enough people that the $100 is worth it to say, like, you know what, if I didn't want to work in that framework already, I don't know that $100 makes the difference.
I think that's going to attract some new developers, at least. Somebody who just wants to try it out. And the thing is, these two operating systems are supposed to have a piece where you should be able to make applications for Windows Phone and Windows 8 at the same time. I mean, sometimes when I see the idea of Windows Store needing apps, I think that's strange because, well, Windows has applications. They were called programs for a very long time, and it runs on the desktop. When it comes to the RT system, that's a whole other mess. But I think it's going to get some new developers in there. I just think it's kind of strange for Microsoft to have to pay people to develop for it. I mean, when Android came out, Google did a big cash push for that, get people interested, and they started developing for it. It seems a little desperate, actually, from Microsoft.
So it's the same thing. So it worked for Android. Why wouldn't it work? Why is it so strange that Microsoft?
Well, Android was brand new, right? And they didn't have any. Google was new at this whole operating system game, and Microsoft isn't. I guess that's the difference here.
But this thing is brand new, and people aren't developing for it in the numbers they want. So,
also, $100 doesn't get you much anymore these days. I don't even think you're recouping your development costs. You're getting a couple T-shirts.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, I wouldn't turn down $100 for nothing, but the amount of time as a programmer that you put in developing an app and the amount of time you can make as a programmer, I'm not sure if that balances out. But I guess the promise is you'll be able to sell it and make your money back. I don't know. Real quickly, let's finish up with a post that I saw on Slashdot referring to a Google Plus posting from Ian Hickson. He's author and maintainer of the HTML5 spec. He works at Google. And there's been a lot of talk about putting in hooks to DRM in the HTML5 spec. Tim Berners-Lee himself, the inventor of the web, has come out saying, look, you know, it's just the reality. You have to put those hooks in. You don't have to implement the DRM in the HTML spec for the web, but you should make it possible because so many people want it. You can't just shut out an entire industry. Hickson argues that really, a lot of these debates are focusing around the wrong thing. This is not about copyright protection. When people talk about DRM, they should be talking about the fact that DRM's purpose these days is to give content providers control over software and hardware providers. And it's satisfying that purpose. And he explains, DRM is working really well in the movie and book space. Whereas with CDs that weren't encrypted, anybody could put music on any device they wanted. And so device makers had the upper hand. And eventually that ended DRM for MP3s because it just didn't make sense. Because DVD had encryption, even though easily circumvented encryption, but encryption nonetheless, people never ripped movies to their movie players the way they ripped MP3s to their MP3 players. And what DRM is providing is a way for the content creator to control the hardware and say, your hardware won't be able to play our video. And so we have leverage over you and we can make you do things. Companies that make playback hardware and software are on one side. Companies like Apple, for instance, right? They make the software that plays the movies. They make the hardware that plays the movies, but they also have a movie store. And so now they're in that camp and they're all pitted, the content makers and the content maker and hardware combos, against the people who just make hardware and us, the users. So the folks that just want to make hardware that plays things, you know, non-committally without doesn't matter where it comes from, are losing out. And he doesn't go so far as to say, and that's why HTML5 shouldn't have the DRM hooks in it. He's just saying let's have the debate where it is. It's not about copyright protection anymore. Does that make any sense to you guys? Nicole, what do you think of this?
I think I basically agree. Like I think, you know, DRM is not a good idea. It's not about copyright protection, but it does give the content providers, you know, some control over the provider and satisfying that purpose. It's just one of, like, I personally am not a fan of DRM, but if they feel like they need to have it to provide the service.
I mean, it seems odd to me because, I mean, the whole point of copyright is that's giving you the rights to make the copies. So you shouldn't need DRM on top of that, theoretically. But, I mean, I know I've suffered from lock-in when it comes to stores. I have to think about which device do I want to use when I want to watch movies or if I'm picking applications or whatever it is. And then there's a high barrier to switching because you're like, okay, I have to either rebuy everything because this isn't going to work. I think it's an unfortunate reality. But the thing is, if this is what's making these folks money, they're going to keep pushing it all the time. But thankfully, we still have computers and we can always get around this stuff. The thing is, it's just this silly game. It's punishing those who actually want to buy content. There's no easy way to transfer it over, and that's just bad for everybody.
And it isn't an open marketplace because if I am a content provider who says, I'm going to use DRM, and I'm going to force the hardware makers to pay me money to license my DRM scheme so that then people can buy my content and play it back on their hardware. You got the hardware makers over a barrel. It doesn't work if you can break the DRM, but they made breaking the DRM illegal with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So that's the lay of the land now. All right, let's move on to the randomizer. So this is a horribly complicated story in one respect, and I'm going to try to make it real simple. Graphene chips, we hear about all the time. People make fun of me because I'm a big fan of it. What graphene chips provide is the ability to have very low power requirements. So if we ever move off silicon, it's kind of, you know, if we move to graphene-based chips, supposedly we'll get these really like power sipping devices that can last a long time. There's also something called molybdenite chips. And that's what you see in a lot of flexible computing. Molybdenite has the ability to be flexible. Well, EPFL has experimental flash memory that combines graphene and molybdenite in one so that you have an incredibly power-efficient chip that also would be flexible and it'd be in bendable electronics. Now, when I put it that way, does that get anybody excited?
And normally I'll mock Tom for his graphene obsession, but flexible, power-efficient devices, that's the future. I mean, the thing is, when you have your phone, you accidentally sit on a thing, it breaks. You want more flexible devices, and you want battery life. So I'm like, this is fantastic. So Tom, nice find.
And that's why we need flexible technology, because you might sit on your phone.
Because people never do that. People never drop anything.
I didn't get one of these flexible graphene thingamabobs, and I sat on my phone again.
I didn't realize I'm talking to Sarah Killjoy Lane today. So down today.
Well, I think no. I think this is super cool too. Not just for accidents, but just for flexibility of how things are built in the future.
Yeah, wristbands, wristwatches, rollable screens, all of that kind of stuff.
The Apple iWatch, that's a snap bracelet. Yep.
The tablet.
Oh, that's just a myth. That's an old wives' tale.
Combine LCD rollable screens with the flash memory, and then you got a rollable tablet. You just roll it up.
We call them scrolls.
Yeah. All right. Real quickly, before we get to the calendar and finish up here, I want to congratulate our iPad giveaway winner. GoToMeeting has made it possible to meet from anywhere with their fantastic mobile apps, and now you can even present from your iPad. And thanks to everyone who participated in our GoToMeeting giveaway, who tweeted their answers to our question, if you could host a meeting from anywhere this winter using GoToMeeting, where would it be and why? And I'm pleased to announce that the winner of the new iPad, signed by us, is Janet Woke, who wrote on Twitter, I would host my GoToMeeting from the farmer's market because it's a busy place that's filled with colorful and healthy munchies. Hashtag TNT iPad.
Oh. Hey, congratulations, Janet.
Yeah, way to go. And a nice use. I like going to I have a farmer's market just a couple blocks away. It's awesome. To go hang out. Think about farmers markets too. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going there for all the healthy vegetables, and then you buy like all the fried food from the from the vendors there. But congratulations to Janet Woke, and remember, don't forget to try GoToMeeting free today. We thank him for doing the iPad giveaway on Tech News Today. All right, Sarah, what's on the calendar?
Well, Tom, tomorrow is Ignition Mobile Conference in San Francisco. This is a Business Insiders Conference. Topics like mobile social networks, mobile commerce, how people make money on mobile, how people advertise on mobile, mobile publishing. You get the idea. That's it. Nothing else is happening tomorrow.
All right. That's it. That's all you need to know. Yeah. Thank you, Nicole Lee, for joining us today. It's always great to have you. Let folks know what you're up to over there at Engadget.
I'm just writing posts on everything that's tech-related, gadget-wise, anything. I write space stories occasionally. It's a lot of fun. Engadget.com.
Engadget.com. Look for Nicole Lee. Also, look for our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. It's where you can go to submit stories for our consideration. We look at that each and every day to figure out what stuff we're going to put in the show. You can submit stories or even vote stories up and down. You can just play executive producer and be like, green light that, down, no, that one's down. technewstoday.reddit.com. You can also find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. Email us, TNT@twit.tv, and give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. Jeff Bakalar joins us for the show tomorrow. We'll see you then.